Tell me about Mount Carmel.
So Mount Carmel is a beautiful location. In fact, from Mount Carmel, we can literally have a panoramic view. We can see so many biblical stories right in front of our eyes. Even the Mediterranean. So on one side you can see Caesarea by the sea, the other side you can see the Valley of Armageddon, where the final battle is supposed to take place according to Revelations. And so from Mount Carmel, that's where we hear about the story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal. That's where Elijah defeated the 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. And that was an area of the worship of Baal and Asherah, the gods of fertility. And obviously Elijah's coming in at that point and saying, how long are you going to falter between two gods? You're going to choose Baal, or you're going to choose the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's where he defeats the prophets of Baal.
Wow, that's a pretty historic place.
It really is.
Well, of course, one of the stars of the Bible, John the Baptist, had his ministry in the Jordan River.
Right.
So tell us about the Jordan River.
Well, the Jordan River, first of all, is a very important river to us in Israel, in modern day Israel. The name Jordan in Hebrew is Yarden, which actually means descending from the Dan. And the Dan is the main water source of the Jordan River. That's in the north of the country where the biblical tribe of Dan was. And so there's three rivers that join together that form the Jordan River in the north. Jordan River actually is the main water source for the Sea of Galilee. Pours into the Sea of Galilee in the north and pours out of the Sea of Galilee in the south and all the way down to the Dead Sea. Whereas they say that the river of life pours into the Sea of Death.
Right.
And so that's where the Jordan River is, where obviously John the Baptist would have spent a lot of his time, especially down in the wilderness, preparing the way for the Lord in the wilderness.
Right, and obviously it's where Christ was baptized.
That's right. That's where he met Jesus.
Wow. Now let's talk about the city of Jerusalem. And boy, can that be a very long conversation.
The Holy City.
The
That's
Holy
right.
City. So it's very spectacular in its scope historically, and spectacular, to witness in present day. So one of the great vistas to observe the actual Holy City is from the Mount of Olives. A lot of stuff happens there. So let's go through the highlights.
Well, the Mount of Olives is special. Oh my goodness. When you sit there and see the view of the Temple Mount, you can actually see Mount Moriah, where Abraham almost sacrificed Isaac, where the first and the second holy temple were. Just an amazing spot. But the Mount of Olives is rich. That's where, first of all, Jesus entered the city over the Mount of Olives. He looked out over the city from the Mount of Olives. He wept over the city. It's where he ascended to heaven, and it's where he's going to come back. So it doesn't get better than that. That's literally holy ground.
Right. And there now that exist on the Mount of Olives are many things to commemorate, these things that you talked about. So what are some of the sites that you might stop at?
Well, first of all, you start off with the orientation over the city with that magnificent view. And then you make your way down the Palm Sunday Road, the traditional Palm Sunday Road. One of the stops you might take is the Church of Dominus Flevit, or that area where the Lord wept. Luke 19 tells us that he wept over the city. He actually foretold the destruction of the temple. And so the Lord wept over the city. He made his triumphal entry over the Mount of Olives into Jerusalem. And then another site that you might visit, obviously, is the Garden of Gethsemane.
So talk about the significance of that.
Gethsemane actually means oil press. And that's where they would take the olives and make the olive oil. In fact, Gethsemane was a meeting place for Jesus and the disciples. And if you want to get technical about it, I'm sure that Jesus felt quite pressed his night in Gethsemane as he was praying. In fact, if you want to get really technical about it, that's where he shed his first drop of blood for us. Because sweating blood is an actual symptom of extreme stress. That's where Jesus prayed. The disciples wouldn't stay awake. They couldn't stay awake. That's where he was betrayed, and he spent his last night there in the garden.
We'd also noticed on the Mount of Olives a bunch of old or ancient graves. What is all that?
Well, the Mount of Olives is the oldest and the largest Jewish cemetery in existence.
Wow.
And so you see many, many, many graves there. In fact, if you're looking down on the Mount of Olives, you can see 3 valleys. And so one is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, is right down below, also known as the Kidron Valley. And that's where God is, according to Joel, going to judge the nations on account of how they've treated Israel.
Wow.
And in fact, Jehoshaphat means where God will judge. And in the Kidron Valley, we have the tomb of Zechariah and Absalom as well in the valley, some of those ancient graves.
And the other 2 valleys?
Then the other 2 valleys, the other one is called the Tyropian Valley, also known as the Cheesemaker's Valley. And the third valley is called Gehenna, it means hell, where child sacrifice was made to the god Moloch. But it's really amazing. If you look at those valleys, you see Scripture says that the Lord has implanted his name on Jerusalem. And if you look from an aerial view, it's as clear as day. You can actually see those valleys form this, which is the Hebrew letter Shin, which if you see every mezuzah or prayer box on every Jewish door, that stands for the word Shaddai, God. He didn't just say it, he literally implanted his name on the 3 valleys of Jerusalem. Now those valleys enwrap Zion, Mount Zion, which scripture says that the Lord abides in Zion. He says, this is my resting place forever.
And then on Mount Zion, don't we have the city of David?
We do.
So tell us about that.
Well, the city of David is, first of all, it was the Jebusite city before David came into the area. And David conquered the city from the Jebusites. He unites the 12 tribes and makes it his eternal capital, Jerusalem. And so an amazing place. And the archaeological excavations there, daily we're finding new things, proving the Bible accurate all the time. And so in the city of David, we found what we believe to be the shaft that David used in order to conquer the city from the Jebusites. Eilat Mazar has done some excavations there, and she thinks that they might have even found the palace of David.
Wow.
And Hezekiah's tunnel was uncovered there in the pool of Siloam, where Jesus healed the blind man.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Now let's get into Jerusalem proper, the old city at least. There's 4 quadrants. What are they?
The old city, first of all, the walls of the old city were built by Suleiman the Magnificent in 1536, around 1536 AD, Ottoman Turkish walls. So today the walls of the city enclose 4 quarters, which are the Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and Armenian quarters inside the old city.
So some of the sites of historical significance, especially to Christians, I guess we talk about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Tell us about that.
Well, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, first of all, that's a church. When Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire in 324 AD, his mother Helena was sent to the region. And she travels the land with early church fathers, and she's led to these locations and designates the holy sites. So the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was one of those sites that Helena believed to have found a portion of the cross there, and she believed that that was the location of Golgotha and the tomb. And so that is the final stations of what is called the Via Dolorosa, the Catholic Via Dolorosa, are at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, that is the Catholic and the Orthodox location of the tomb and of Golgotha, but there's also a Protestant location, which is the Garden Tomb. Both were quarries outside the old city walls, and so we're not sure which
so
was
some
accurate.
scholarly debate
That's
between the
right.
two, but
That's right.
at least they're not that far apart.
No, they're
from each
not.
other. There's a Tower of David, which David never built. So tell us about the Tower of David.
Right. More accurately, the Tower of David Museum encloses many different layers of archaeological excavations of the city of Jerusalem. But more significantly, the main tower is considered the Psael Tower, and that was one of the towers, the base of it, that is, today. And that was one of the towers that protected and guarded Herod's palace, Herod the Great. And so we know that would be, Jesus was brought to Herod and judged there. And there are some exciting new excavations that are going on there. And we're very excited to see what else is uncovered there.
That's it for this particular interview. Thanks for joining me. Really excited to take this ongoing journey with you as we keep bringing more content. If you haven't already, you really should subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of phenomenal content coming down the road into the future that you'll want to know about. Leave a comment down here. I think people would love to hear from you, and then you can hear from them too. If you liked it, go ahead and give a like. It only takes half a second, and share this with people that you care about. The world needs more light in it right now. So thanks for being with me. Hope to connect with you again soon.